Good morning and welcome back to Talking Your Walk, and I have a wonderful guest today who's known for his generosity and kindness, and he's the co-founder of Sacred Sound Guru, and he's also a patron of an orphanage out in Africa. It's a great pleasure to welcome with us today Fab Ray. Hi, good morning Fab, and thanks for joining me. Can I ask where you were born and what kind of child you were?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you, Jen, for having me. It's such a pleasure to see you and have this conversation. Yes, I was born in France, in Limoges, and in 1974. And as a child, um, I was very, very creative, and I was also very, very effeminate, and which actually threw my parents quite a bit because I just wanted to be a girl. I just thought that girls were having so much fun because they were dressing up and having makeup, but it just obviously so unfair, you know. I want to do that as well. And but of course, at school, I was bullied badly and ostracized for being different. So that quite set the tone for the rest of my life, and there was a lot of fear and just to be myself, and so it was really yeah, it was quite a difficult time, and I can't say that I really enjoy my school years, and but all this is a lesson, and if we can actually embrace it, we can become stronger and wiser for it. So I don't actually regret any of it.
And when you finished school, did you stay where where you were brought up, or did you move away, or did you go into jobs or study, or what happened in your later teens?
Well, my parents wanted me to get like sort of A levels, and so I just did it, but it wasn't really my first choice, and but I was also fascinated by the English language, and I knew that if I wanted to open up opportunities, I had to move away, and so yeah, it was really actually so learning English been such an incredible gift. It's really opened up my horizons, and of course, I met my partner when actually when I moved to England. I met my partner, um, and I had 14 amazing years with him,
Yeah,
until he died.
yeah. And when you moved to England, did you move originally to Shrewsbury, or did you move somewhere else and meet him somewhere else, and then both of you moved here, or was he already from here? How did that come about?
Well, I first went to London, and but after 4 weeks there, I just realized that well, first of all, I had been thrown out of a hostel for being different again, and but it is because, and I'm actually, sometimes something really negative happens, and I thought, well, okay, that's it. I'm homeless now, but I might actually be able to meet someone, and it's exactly what happened. I met my partner, and that set the course for me to move from London to Banbury, in Oxfordshire, and where I stayed for 18 years.
Wow, in Banbury. Oh, I know it well. I know it very well. So you were in Banbury, and then was that with your partner then? Did you meet him in Banbury?
Yeah, well, I met him in London. I met
Mhm.
him in a bar called Halfway to Heaven. And
Yeah,
when because he was a bit older than me, so when he actually finished work, he was actually researching, writing books about steam trains and the British Raj in India. He was looking for a title. I said to him, "I said, why don't you call it Halfway to Heaven?" This is what he did, and his publisher thought it was an amazing title. Well, it is, but he never really knew the reason. And So I moved to Banbury and I went into teaching. I was thinking, what can I do? Well, I can speak French, so I might be able to teach it. And so I ended up. I was doing evening classes. And also, I set up a company teaching languages, Spanish, German. I wasn't doing that. I was actually contracting people to do that. And eventually, actually, I worked in a private school teaching girls. Which was very good for me because it kept me out of trouble, you see. Most people say, oh, you're working in the girls' school. Oh, well, no, actually, perfect. No temptation whatsoever.
Oh, bless you. So then you've moved from Banbury up to Shrewsbury. What brought about that move?
Well, in 2008, Terry was diagnosed with lymphoma, and it was a very nasty and quite rare strain of lymphatic cancer. So I've actually nursed him for 2 years until he passed. And but fortunately, I was meditating quite a lot, and because I realized, that if I was going to be able to help him, I had to help myself first, because, if I was in a throw of a strong emotion that I couldn't deal with it, didn't want to burden him with that, So it was an amazing opportunity for self-discovery, and that I could still stay grounded, even though it was chaos around me. And everything was shaking and changing, and but you can actually still center yourself and not be subjected by all these external conditions. It's like, I had this wonderful, and I heard this wonderful metaphor some time ago. He said, well, it's like the ocean. On the surface it's very stormy and you have big waves, but deep down there is stillness. And this is from that place, from that well of presence, which has been the guiding light in my life, and still is, because I'm just realizing we can never be still enough, So the discovery is really continuing to unfold,
So you've started to get into meditation. Was that your first encounter with the spiritual side of life, or had you always been interested in that? Was that something that you got into by accident, or how did that come about?
Yeah, June, nothing happens by accident.
Yeah.
And I've always been a very curious child. I remember, when I was very, very young, I was asking my mother, where did I come from? And of course, my mother, what is that sort of question? Well, you come from here, come from my womb. Well, that's not really what I was asking for. But so I always knew deep down that there was something more. And of course, when I moved to England, I had an opportunity to do a retreat, a Vipassana retreat, and for 10 days, and which was a stunning revelation. And I had some very, very deep insights, and I accessed joy in a way I have never experienced before. So that was a confirmation. But because Terry wasn't really that inclined, and he loved traveling and doing all kinds of things, I got myself a bit distracted. But because of his illness, I actually went back into it. And of course, after his death, I had the opportunity to do more traveling, to do some traveling and visit indigenous tribes in South America. And
yeah, because you have done, I saw you when your Facebook posts when you're out in South America, and working with different shaman, and doing different learning the ways of different tribes. That's a fascinating journey as well. Was there ever a time that you were scared or worried or concerned? Because I think you were going out there on your own, weren't you? So that takes a lot of courage to travel to, you know, different countries on your own. Well, you'd already done that when you came to England, obviously, but when you went to South America, I mean, that was a fascinating journey you did. And how many times have you been?
Well, it's just like, once again, it's just when you, because my father as well as my partner died the same year. So 2010 was really a watershed. And so after that, you know, you just realize that, of course, yeah, you have to go through the grief. And but it's actually in recent time that I realized that that there is a hidden gem within the grief if you can actually allow yourself to embrace it. And but that came with the journeys with the plant medicine, you see, because at the time I didn't really understand. But it's just like, you know, it's that, you know, reconnecting with that spirit of adventure, and you just think, you know, well, what is there to lose, you know? And just like, you know, life is, you know, life is for discovery, you know. And if I don't, if I can't embrace my my death, you know, I'm not living. That's just as simple as that, you know. You know, so sometimes, you know, too much security can actually bring on too much complacency, and, you know, you just get yourself in a rut and all of that. So, but thankfully, because of my initiation with plant medicine, especially in South America and Africa as well, it just reconnected me with something really primordial within myself, which I've always been looking for, which is, yes, this is what it is, you know? And of course, that brings you into a place of humility, which is so important.
So you've done your work with South America, and then you get involved with this orphanage in Africa. I mean, and that's absolutely a wonderful story, because these children really need help, don't they? I mean, you know, people in sort of these countries can think that they're poor and that, but some of these people have absolutely nothing and nobody. How that must have been heart-wrenching, but still heartwarming at the same time.
Yeah, sure. And in fact, actually, I was telling a friend, I said, you know, I would really love to do, I would really love to make a difference, and maybe to an orphanage or some sort. And a friend said to me, well, I just know that very person, you know, you might actually be able to meet to help. So she puts me in touch with this guy who actually she didn't really know that well. And but anyway, I thought, well, let's see what it's like. And so I just connected with this guy called Gideon, and we had a very good rapport. And very quickly, I just realized that yes, I wanted to get involved, but I needed to travel there. So so within about within about 3 months, I just decided to go there. And once again, I actually took a friend of mine with me, because I knew nobody. I mean, Kenya, and especially that part of Kenya, it's just like the Wild West, really. And but once again, you know, it's just like that spirit of adventure. And so I just got involved with them for about a year, and then 12 months later, I went back. And what obviously the work they're doing there is wonderful. I have absolutely no regret what I have done there. I know I've made a significant difference. But then I actually realized there were some irregularities. And so I had to actually disentangle myself from this. And because before I just decided to do a pilgrimage, I decided to do the pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela. I walked for 800 kilometers,
Wow.
500 miles, and that took me about 37 days, and that brought on a lot of clarity. And when I came home, I realized that that you know it's the Kenyan way, you know. It's ingrained within them that, you know, when a white person comes, you know, and because we have so much, we are seen as a bank, you know. So and a lot of it, a lot of things, a lot of shadows, I suppose, came into the light. And I realized I felt really betrayed by it because I had invested a lot of trust and a lot of money, but once again I just realized that if I didn't welcome the betrayal, that I was going to get caught up in being bitter and so on, and I just didn't want to be bitter. It's a every experience, good or bad, especially if they are bad, well, bad is actually a label that the mind puts on. If we, if, okay, this is a negative experience, what can actually learn from this, and obviously, I just realized, even before I actually went to Kenya, I just realized that, there is still an awful lot of baggage that that Africa is actually is still coming to terms with. The tremendous harm that the white people, ancestors, have done there. Exploitation and slavery, you name it,
and still doing.
And of course, I carry that with in that field, in a collective field. So that betrayal and all of that was a wonderful opportunity for healing, and really say, yes, I've been betrayed, but actually it's not about me. It's not personal. And if I had been placed in exactly the same situation, I would have done exactly the same thing. When you are placed in a position of survival, and you would do anything to survive, and if someone is willing to come and give you lots of money, you're gonna say, what? No? And and the kids they've been helping there, okay, they were not orphans, they had parents, but they still have considerably less than what we have here.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course, I still, we build a well, and which now they have access to water, and that water is is being shared with the whole community. Just wonderful things have happened, and I've saved his life. I've saved his family, his father's life. I'm just, because when you actually contract malaria there, it's lethal. And of course, that experience actually brought me on to a genuine charity, was set up by this wonderful Kenyan woman in Frome, in Somerset, and was generally helping genuine orphans. And so without that experience, I would never have met her. So the all importance of saying, yeah, okay, I may. This experience, maybe my ego didn't want that experience, but for the greater good, it is significant, and it has a meaning,
And so then, how did you? I know that you're done your work. How did you get into sound healing? What happened there? How did you? I know that you were doing your meditation and that, but how did you get into sound itself?
Well, I've always been, I've always been fascinated by spirituality, Tibetan. Actually, if you can actually have a quick look here, you see, I've got these amazing tankers.
Yes.
And actually, my Tom says, he was a Buddhist monk, and he said, in the temples, I've been, and he said, we don't even have a genuine tanker, and then you have sex. So it's something karmic. There's something really karmic there, I'm sure. But so all of it, so that brought me to, if you heard of Tibetan singing bowls.
Yes.
So, and especially when I was actually looking for, when Terry was ill, I was just thinking, how can I actually help him? And I knew that certain songs and certain mantras were really helping him relax and really be in the moment. And then I discovered, I can't actually remember quite, maybe I had a student at the time because I was teaching French. And she came back from from Nepal, and she brought some really amazing singing bowls, and that was a revelation. Once again, the universe was actually giving me what I was looking for. So I just bought some singing bowls, and yes, and and as I started playing them, and the sound just was helping him tremendously. And so after he passed, just carried on that search, and then I discovered gongs, and that completely blew my mind. And yeah, it's just sound is a wonderful tool to bring the mind into stillness, and also it's got also some therapeutic benefit as well, but you don't have to believe in anything, you just know that when the clock is when the alarm bell rings in the morning, just jolts you, and so different types of sounds have a particular effect, and you've tried it yourself, and it's just it does something to our constitution. It does something to the atoms of our cells. It brings them into a harmony. Sometimes you can feel like, sometimes when I play that gong, particularly, especially when I do sessions, it just brings me automatically in the zone, and I can feel that energy that, I don't know, you call it transcendent, whatever you want to call it, but I just feel that I'm being possessed by something greater than my little ego,
So you're doing your sound healing sessions now. Now, if I remember correctly, you do one-to-one sound healing sessions. You also do group sessions. You do gong baths now. And I know that during COVID, that's had to sort of take a backseat. But you've been out there and you're doing them online as well through Sacred Sound Gurus. So if anybody's watching this interview and would like to contact you, what's the best way for them to contact you? What's the website, or what's the Facebook address?
Yeah, well, we have a Facebook page. It's called Sacred Sound Guru. We also have a website. Actually, I think it's sacred. I have to look it up. It's sacredsoundguru.com, I think.
Sound.guru, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you. Well, you actually know it better than myself. Yeah, sacredsound.guru. I try to be, with all that technology, it's just like, oh God, yeah, it's sacredsound.guru. Yeah, just be in touch with us, and yeah, I do one-to-one sessions, and I'm also trained in voice healing. My teacher in Denmark, Gita Ben David. I did an amazing workshop about a couple of years ago with her, and that was a revelation. And I can tell you that as soon as I came back, and my dear old friend Dorothy, who's 85 now, for some reason she just couldn't swallow anymore, and she couldn't drink fluid. She let alone eat solid food, and it had been like that for 3 days. And then I said to her, I said, look, if it is not any better, I said, I'm taking you to the hospital tomorrow. But I said, I just come back from that workshop. I said, let me try this 10-minute treatment, and let's see if it works, And she was very open to it, and she had nothing to lose, and she was in a lot of discomfort, you can imagine. And I applied, which is, once again, the power of intention and vibration. And so I just applied sound just here, where the discomfort was, and the esophagus, just under the throat, and very focused for 5-10 minutes. And I said to her, just go to bed and just call me in the morning. And the next morning, it had all the discomfort had gone. She was able to drink and eat, and she was clear for about 18 months. And I did it again about 3 months ago, and once again declared, you know.
Wow, that's absolutely fabulous, isn't it? I mean, it's such a it's such a blessing to be able to help people, and using sound's a fantastic way to do that. Of all of the sort of practices that you do, and all of the books that you've no doubt read and people you've met in courses, if someone was going through a really difficult time at the moment, you know, and they're watching this, and maybe they're being forced to make changes in their life, you know, due to COVID or other circumstances, doesn't matter really. You know, is there anything that you would say to them? You know, is there, you know, something that you might suggest they read, or is there something that you might suggest they get into? You know, what would you suggest to somebody who's having to make some radical changes in their life at the moment?
Well, I think, I mean, recently I just, I would say personally, it's just maybe to find a friend, and and a friend who understand, who has the ability to listen, you know, and who's not going to give you any answers, or provide you with any solution. And because it's, in my own view, in my own from my own experience, it is so much more empowering to find your own answers than someone telling you about it. And I know that when you can find someone to offload, and that person is open for it, it is incredibly beneficial, and it's incredibly healing, just to have that attention undivided, you know, because that we forget, you know, that attention, that awareness is a gift of God, you know. We don't see it, we can smell it, but we know when someone is giving us full attention, and that, you know, and children know that particularly. They might not know that consciously, but they respond particularly well. It's like it's a way to fill somebody else's cup, you know, when someone is there for you, you know. That's incredibly energizing. And and actually that's what I'm actually getting into at the moment, because I'm quite good at listening, and and it is a wonderful way to be of service to others. So I'm just thinking, you know, how can you actually help? And thinking, you know, maybe I'd love to do some prison work, and just, you know, just listen to other people's lives, and, you know, and because I just realized, you know, I mean, Tom's got a friend who has been in jail for many years for murder, and I'm just thinking, you know, well, you know, I don't actually. I'm just thinking, you know, what would it be like, you know, just to be in that other person's shoes, you know, without any judgment, you know, because I do recognize that I have a lot of judgment myself, you know. And because I'm just realizing we are all murderers in a way, because we are murderers of the truth, you know. We believe that what we are, that, you know, our identity, that identity which was given by our parents, we believe it is real, you know. And actually we are so much more than that. So we're actually murdering ourselves because we believe that it is real. So if I can actually be of service to others, and you know, and be a vehicle for listening, so they can actually discover themselves in the true beauty that they are, then it would be a tremendous legacy, you know, because you help one person, but you never know who that person is going to help. And at the end of the day, you always help yourself, you know. It's like people think, you know, it was this wonderful French nun who used to say, you know, she would send volunteers to some of the projects, and now it's an international organization that helps thousands of kids. She said volunteers have the idea that they're going to help and save the poor. Well, in fact, actually, when they come back from their 3 months stint, they realize they have been helped much more. You know. But to go back to your question, I would say, you know, remind yourself that nothing lasts, you know. everything that comes into our life is actually is a gift, but it will be taken back at some stage, including our health and our bodies. And you know, if you go into actually nature, you realize nature is teaching us all the time that everything is being born and passes away. So whatever we actually going through in life, you know, even if we actually going through desperation and grief, you know, it will all pass. You know, it's our mind attaching to it. It's, oh, in the moment when you actually experience it, you think, oh, this is going to be eternal. You know, I'm going to be in hell forever. It's never going to go. But actually, you know, you don't actually feel grief all the time. You don't feel sadness all the time. It comes and goes, but we don't really notice it, you know.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's absolutely fantastic way of looking at it. And as you said, you know, we limit ourselves by maybe the way we've been brought up or the stories that our parents, schools
Yeah.
and peers tell us. It's a really fantastic way to look at life, Fab. But all I can say is thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure to learn more about your journey. I mean, this is fascinating, finding out how you came from France to the UK and then going down to South America and over to Africa. I think it's a wonderful journey you're on of self-discovery and also of helping other people. And I really wish you well for the future. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say that, you know, as I'm saying always to you, and I'm always teaching myself, always. You know, I might be sitting that gone beyond that might make me look holy, but actually, you know, I'm not any different, and you know, we are all learning.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know? Yep, absolutely. Every day is a school day.
Definitely, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my life with you and all your people, and yeah, if I can be of service to anyone, I'd be delighted to do so. Thank you.
I know. Thank you. Take care. Thank you.
Have a good day.